that bit.
A lorry? What sort?
A big one.
Well, clearly.
It's a Renault. And what makes this one interesting is that the cab sits on top of all the engine. So it has a flat floor. And that means
The floor's flat.
it's easy.
It's a Lotus.
11-litre lorry.
Yeah.
No, not that. In less developed countries, such as Australia and America, people like to decorate and personalise their lorries. You will now go away and do the same.
Once our lorries had been
from the pit lane. Yeah, a bit of housekeeping. Very closely by Lando.
Because it's very easy to get your brain overexcited. You have a very, very strict and tricky these cars parked on the right place on the grid. Also, we're watching the cars weaving a lot down the straight. They're trying to. They can do it using the brakes as well. So they're doing all that prep work for the tyres, but then when they get to the grid, they've got to make sure they go to neutral and then they engage the gear in the right way and they're ready for the start. You don't want to put it in gear too early because then you sit there trembling with your fingers all over the clutches and you laugh, but I mean, honestly,
Further back then, Damon, like Lewis Hamilton, elected to go on that hard side to go longer into this race.
yeah, and it worked for him last year as they line up now, and we will be seeing pretty soon what's going to happen at turn one as the cars are forming up on the grid. There's the last one, there's Haas at the back with that Zoe Berman, I think, is also on a hard tyre.
Let's check in with Jenny Gow. Verstappen, who is looking so aggressive out there, climbing the curbs, desperation in trying to keep hold of that lead, and he has done so as the rest of the pack weave their way through Sector 1, left and right sweepers, which make up the majority of it, and it's Max Verstappen who holds the lead ahead of Kimi Antonelli, and Oscar Piastri's up to third.
Car damage when we got that, as we watch again as Kimi Antonelli defends by going down the straight, down the middle of the track, so that Max Verstappen, no one behind him, Oscar Piastri, cannot take a dive.
I believe yellow flag is out for Jack Doohan's Alpine with a bit of a puncture, might have left some debris. That yellow flag has now gone in as we start lap 2 of 57 at this Miami International Auto. World Championship.
Yeah, he's forced me off, man. What am I going to do to slide it for the wall? Like, I was completely alongside.
That is Lando Norris, who was not happy with how that opening lap went against Max Verstappen. Those two have more than history on track together. We'll see if anything comes from that. Virtual safety car is out as Jack Doohan Sonoda is up one position into ninth, ahead of Esteban Ocon. Then it's Hadjar, Hamilton, Bortoletto, Hulkenberg and Stroll, the top 15, with Behrman, Alonso, Gasly and Lawson, the 19 drivers left in this one, with Jack Doohan retiring. As we're, David, just getting a look at that first lap replay, and it wasn't really turn 1, it was turn 3 coming
Harry, we just watched that on board, and I think when you look at it from the on board on Lando Norris's car, you have to say that Max definitely jinked towards Lando, and I think the stewards would be having a look at that.
Well, we'll keep a track of where it comes from race control. That's the sound of Liam Lawson.
Yeah, I got completely hit, mate. I had no idea what the Alpine was doing.
as we get a green flag. The safety car has pulled in and they're up and running again.
Yeah, we're back racing after a virtual safety car, which neutralises the field. It doesn't bunch them all up, so the gaps are trying to maintain the same as they were before. It's Verstappen out in front on lap 4 of 57. He leads by 1.3 seconds to Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes. Then comes your current championship leader. Of George Russell to pick off 4th place.
So far, no news on whether or not the first corner incident with Max and Lando is going to be investigated. We've just conceded that Esteban Ocon's been told by his engineer it's rain in 15 minutes, so that's a message that's going to be going through to all the drivers. But a great move there by Oscar Piastri, and also
coming into turn 1, but the rookie runs deep and succumbs to the 7th-time champion in the Ferrari.
we're watching the master. He's seen it all before, and Isaac Hadjar just dived down into turn 1 to defend a little bit too deep, and of course it was easy pickings for Lewis Hamilton, who is on the hard tyre, who slipped back and got that place. So job done for Lewis. He's making progress through the
Then it's Norris and Sainz.
Possible rain in 20 laps. It will be heavy if it hits.
Oh, that could be tasty. Heavy rain possible in 20 laps is what Fernando Alonso is told on the radio. Alonso having a pretty miserable start to this race. He's down in 17. His teammate actually with a good start on this Grand Prix. He's up into put on the pressure to Kimi Antonelli's 3rd place. Antonelli's fallen back now from the top 2 in this Grand Prix and is starting to fall into the clutches of his teammate and Lando Norris here. Is this maybe a bit of lack of racing experience from Kimi Antonelli showing, David?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, he's been defending right from the word
from the British racer to pick off the Mercedes of Russell. Norris is up to 4th, and as we speak about Antonelli on that last lap around, managing to find himself a bit more pace and get a gap to his teammate, who then falls foul of Lando Norris.
So Verstappen's been cleared by the stewards. No further investigation on that move. What do you think about that, Dave?
Williams having a brilliant race here as Sainz applying the pressure, sweeping left, sweeping right. That's how we end the lap around this Miami International Autodrome. Onto the start-finish straight from the pole position mark down to the right-hander at turn 1. It's 176 metres, stamp on the brakes into the right-hander. Then you get a series of left-right sweepers. Cleared of that incident at the start. Racing incident, lap 1, is that how they're viewing it?
Well, I mean, I have to say I was quite surprised at how quickly I saw Max Verstappen when I was looking at his steering input. It looked to me like he put a deliberate jerk to the right on the steering to try and make sure that Lando didn't go around the outside.
First, hitting turns 7 and 17, then should cover the whole circuit eventually.
Okay, turn 7 and 17, around about lap 14. That's where we'll see maybe the first bits of rain before it comes across the rest of the circuit. It's lap 9 right now, so in 5 laps' time, as the sky looks greyer, let's see how that unfolds. Yeah.
Turn 12, we will get a replay of that at some point, but as we're watching Oscar Piastri closing up on Max Verstappen, here we are on lap 10 and he's right underneath Max's gearbox. There's a car length between them as they go through turn 1 and 2.
Absolutely, into those sweeping sections where Alonso get a look at Alonso and what happened there to him, onto the brakes coming into the left-hander of
and 15, that's very incredibly slow, clumsy part of the circuit. It looks like they're going no miles an hour as they come out of that, and Max Verstappen pulls a bit of an advantage.
Max Verstappen, though, feeling the pressure from a rapid McLaren who is half a second behind him. They're making their way down that long back straight, 1.2 kilometres long, with the aid of DRS.
Second closer to them now. He's only 3.3 seconds behind them, but he's catching them up because, of course, they're fighting. They're not going the optimum speed.
Verstappen's also just he's looking ragged out there. He's really racing that Red Bull to the absolute extremes because he knows, particularly in a straight line, Piastri and the McLaren are faster coming into
Just take the risk that he will, and then what, his radio?
Stay on the inside, Max, make it work for it.
There you go. It's a policy from Red Bull, basically.
I was going to say, didn't he actually go on record as saying no one's going to overtake me around the outside?
To me, it was an interview I did with him in Las Vegas last year. Yeah,
of course it was.
I got him to talk
I knew
about...
I heard it from somewhere.
Yeah, I got him to
to the Miami Dolphins NFL team. It's lap 12 of 57. Rain imminent in the next couple of laps. We've got a fascinating battle for the lead developing. Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, the man who doesn't let himself get overtaken easily. In fact, it's almost a policy that Red Bull do not allow him to get overtaken, especially around the outside.
Teammate, and of course McLaren will be setting the goal is to get in front of Max. What we must do first, before we fight over a race victory between the two of you, is get past Max. We need to dispense with him, and I've noticed that Oscar Piastri is doing something slightly different this time. He's not showing his hand to Max quite so obviously, and Max is probably sitting there thinking, now where's he
Piastri and the Papaya McLaren. This is closer than he's ever been. Round the final corner, side by side, down the start-finish straight. Piastri applying the pressure. Verstappen goes deep. Verstappen off the track. Piastri takes the lead of the Miami Grand Prix on lap 14 of 57. Our championship leader.
Brakes and obviously useless.
I suspect, Max, you probably found your brake too late there. What happened was he defended to the inside at the last corner. That gave Piastri a chance to get a run on him, and he got right alongside him on the outside. Verstappen braked too late, ran wide into the corner. Piastri cut back and got him on the exit.
Here we go again, though, with the second McLaren now. Piastri.
He does put himself in very dangerous positions, Lando. You know, he goes around the outside, he's got the run on him down to straight. Of course, Max brakes very, very late, as he always does, and it gives an opportunity for Lando to get through.
Well, that was, locking up initially over the brakes for Piastri to come through. So that's what gave Piastri the advantage, and then Verstappen then managed to still keep enough on that occasion, but how good is the run out of the final corner for Lando Norris as his teammate now has started to skirt up the road. Piastri leads this race down towards turn one. Verstappen again to the inside. Norris not close enough to try anything around the outside and tucked back in as they were. Max Verstappen second, Lando Norris third. Of 12, that puts Norris once again all over the back of the champion into turns 14 and 15, rising up left, heading downhill to the right.
Yes, I mean everything is just everywhere. It's all over the shop.
Everything is just everywhere, just all over the shop is what Max Verstappen says on the radio. We go again.
the time that Lando is stuck behind Max. You know, we've got Oscar's going up the road. This is a replay. We're watching now a replay of the time that Lando tried to go around the outside at turn 1, and of course it wasn't on. You've got to do a clean pass down the straight into the braking area and get your car in front of Max before you can start.
Straight allows Verstappen through, does Lando Norris. He doesn't fight that too hard. Verstappen back through as they chase each other down. Once again, lap 18 of 57 on the start-finish straight. Verstappen hugs that inside. Norris forced to take the racing line. Now I wonder, was that Lando Norris much cleaner for Lando Norris as he sweeps on by. It's now a McLaren 1-2 in Miami. Piastri leads 8.8 seconds to Lando Norris, with Verstappen now third.
It was almost like Verstappen had just given that up. He didn't defend at all. He just left the space open for Norris, which is very, very unlike him, as we've seen.
This is why, yeah, so we're watching a replay.
He went up inside, right to me off the track, so I need that position back.
Okay, so you need to be a lawyer, don't you, to be a racing driver?
He is right in that position, Max Verstappen, I think. But I mean, what it's done is it's cost, unless something dramatic happens now, it's cost Lando Norris
Ocon the top 10, Hamilton's 11 with Isaac Hadjar 12, Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Stroll the top 15, Ben, Gasly, Alonso and Lawson, the 19 drivers remaining in this race. One retirement in the form of the Alpine of Jack Doohan.
Yeah, as you say, a lot of the drivers starting to complain about their tyres. They're going away from them, the ones that start on the medium.
set of hard tyres into 18th spot. So they have bit Bortoletto's tyres, not lasting anymore. Right, the battle out at front now seems to have settled down. Piastri leads Norris and Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli holding on to fourth ahead of George Russell. Then it's Albon, Sainz, Leclerc, Tsunoda and Ocon, the top 10. Around the grounds of the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the Miami Dolphins NFL team. Hamilton not making quite the inroads I think he would have wanted, David, but of course he started on the hard tyre, the others starting on the medium ahead of him, the majority of at least.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. He did this last year. I mean, of course, the advantage is that he can go longer, deeper into the race, and then go to the medium, or at
that chicane of 14 and 15 where you're going oh so close, oh so slowly. Lewis Hamilton was nudging Esteban Ocon out of the corner. Hamilton will get the aid of the DRS. He's pretty close to the back of the Haas. Ocon moves to the inside to defend. Onto the dirty stuff. Sparks flying from the underside of that Haas. Hamilton sent to the outside. That allows him
I think Esteban Ocon has a reputation of being a bit of a hard racer too, so Lewis had better work this one out properly and make it a clean pass, because Esteban will not make it easy.
This is the sound once more of Lewis Hamilton down into that left-hander. This time it's turn 11, side by side. Ocon hangs him out to dry, but Hamilton doesn't lift. Nothing
we watched the screen where Lewis had to decide whether he kept his foot in it as the wall was getting closer, and Esteban Ocon on the outside was getting closer, and he squeezed between the two of them. But I think after this race they will be shaking hands and saying that was fair and tough.
Isaac Hadjar into the pits in the Racing Bulls. He was just behind that battle, but top 5. Albon is 6th ahead of Sainz, Leclerc, Tsunoda and Hamilton now into the top 10. And we've just seen a brilliant camera shot of Laura Müller, who is Esteban Ocon's engineer at Haas. Her live reaction to the fight between Ocon and Hamilton, and wincing almost in pain as Ocon gets overtaken. And not Lawson, he's at the back because he got involved in anything with doing. So they've stopped so far. Where is this rain we've been promised, Jenny Gow? Any signs?
No, absolutely not. And as I look out at the skies, it's very white. It was black at the start of this race, and those clouds seem to have disappeared. I can't see this rain coming anytime.
All around us except for where we are.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. That's the voice of the 1996 Formula 1 World Champion, Damon Hill. You're listening to 5 Live F1 meteorologist, I should say, our expert weather forecaster, Damon Hill.
I'm just reading the map, honestly, Harry.
It's how you interpret the data, Damon.
I hope these pictures mean something. I think, but I was watching.
Turn 17 mostly in the course of the next 2 laps. That's the heavy braking zone, the left-hander at the end of that long back straight. I feel like this is deja vu. We've had races like this before where the rain has been predicted but never come. Here we go, first of the big hitters up front. Kimi Antonelli comes into the pits. Let's head down to Jenny Gow. To the hard on lap 26 of 57. Piastri leads though 8.4 seconds to his teammate Lando Norris.
Yeah, and we are actually talking about tyre strategies. We're watching Russell, who was actually started on the hard. He's still out there, so it's going to be very interesting to see how deep he goes into this race.
those Williams are being a bit tricky.
Yeah, that was the other one of Alex Albon. 2.7 second stop, though, for Max Verstappen. That's better than they have achieved on average this season. Alex Albon a little slower in the Williams to get out. And will he get out ahead of Kimi Antonelli? No, he won't. Antonelli managing to recover on that one after a slow well, Hamilton has got company in the form of Max Verstappen on much quicker tyres. You're listening to 5 Live's coverage of Formula 1, round 6 of the championship here in Miami. Couple of Premier League results to bring you up to speed with. Full-time Chelsea 3, Liverpool 1. Chelsea strengthened their bid for a place lap 57 of this Miami Grand Prix. Damon Hill is alongside me.
Yeah, I was just looking at the gap for Piastri to make a stop and come out ahead of George Russell. So, he's 21 seconds behind George, who hasn't stopped yet. But, don't want to be stuck behind a slow car. We're watching something happening on a Haas.
It's a slow-moving Ollie Behrman in virtual safety car, Jenny. Virtual safety car as Oliver Behrman pulls off. He is out of this one. The British driver, the rookie, the full-time rookie this season, has had a pretty disastrous Miami Grand Prix weekend. But virtual safety car then means shorter pit stops, but it's slightly slow on the front left for Lewis Hamilton. 3.4 seconds for the Ferrari.
This is painful to watch. They're crawling along to the delta. They can't go faster or slower than a certain amount. They have to get back to the pits, and all the time that's going on there, what you don't want to have happen is while you're in the pits, the virtual safety car to be deactivated and the race be back on, because everyone will just be legging it up.
a 1-2 continuing on. George Russell feeds out into the fast lane. He's now switched over to the medium tyre. This will benefit the likes of George Russell as well, running long. So too for Charles Leclerc, who just drops down to 5th as Max Verstappen is going to lose out here to George Russell, who makes hay thanks to the virtual with possible engine failure. He's dropping down the order. We're about to see what happened to Ollie Behrman. Puff of smoke out the back, and he lost his engine as well as it just cuts out and loses all power for the British racer in the Haas. Does he hit the curb? He comes through, coming through sector 1. No, he takes that. Absolute mission in that Williams, looking planted as he comes through sector 1, sweeping left, sweeping right. Albon having a brilliant run of this race. He's currently in 5th. His teammate, Carlos Sainz, is in 7th. I think Sainz being slightly undone there by the virtual safety car, but either way, Williams looking at double points finishes.
They're doing better than them, and of course James Vowles used to be part of the Mercedes Works team as well, so his results, or his works, hard work, the team's hard work is starting to show very, very good rewards as we watch a replay of the overtake of Alexander Albon or attempted overtake is still threatening here, but it's a never-ending wait for it to turn up in full form. And I'm really interested in this starting on a hard strategy. It seems to be quite a profitable one. I know we did have a virtual safety car, and that may have played a factor, but we've got Lewis Hamilton now, because he's within a second. He's actually closed that gap to under a second. Then we'll get
Gabriel Bortoletto's Sauber, we heard him on the radio a few moments ago complaining about his engine, and now he's been told to box to retire the car, but he hasn't made it back, and he's pulled up on the inside at a exit point on the back straight. That's brought out the VSC, so hopefully they'll be able to wheel that out, but Bortoletto, then the reigning Formula 2 green flag, you're losing about 20 seconds in the pits. Under a virtual safety car, you're only losing around 9 seconds. Russell benefited off that. So that 34 of 57. Piastri, Norris and George Russell are the top 3 in this race. Jenny Gow.
Yes, Pierre Gasly just came in and pitted under that virtual safety car. First pit stop for him of the day, gone from a hard to a medium.
Both of them! Wonderful!
That was so close, and Lewis nearly took both of them while they were squabbling over that position, and but he managed to do a clean pass. Both of them done a clean pass on Carlos Sainz anyway, if you're watching a replay. This is exciting stuff. We're watching wheel-to-wheel action, some very tight racing with
And this was, we're just now hearing the sounds of Lewis Hamilton, who had the best view in the house. It almost looked like he had a clear road in front of him. It opened up coming through turn 1, but then as it flicks through to the left-hander of 2, well, there was his teammate, and he just then allows Leclerc to take his space on the track. But Hamilton here is starting to fight back on his teammate. We've got the two a good recovery so far for Lewis Hamilton. Still a way to go in this race, though. That 36 of 57, with Oscar Piastri leading by 7.3 seconds to his teammate Lando Norris. Then it's a further 19 seconds back to George Russell. Max Verstappen has lost time to Russell now in 4th. Albon in 5th. Kimi Antonelli 6th. Then comes this battle between the two Ferraris. burning up my tyres behind him. That to me seems that not a very disguised code, Damon, of come on, let me through.
Yeah, it's basically asking for the team to give a message to Charles to get away, move out of the way for Lewis to get up the road and try and get to Mercedes, Kimi Antonelli's car, which is 5 seconds ahead of them, and he's got a
No sign of any Ferrari driver orchestrations there. I have to say, I think Lando Norris, has he just taken the fastest lap back from his teammate Oscar Piastri, closing that gap to just under 7 seconds now?
Yeah, he's been nibbling away. He's been gradually pushing harder.
You know, just sit here, start to Norris. Coming for you.
That's Hamilton.
.8 or 7 seconds or 6 seconds is enough. If I can just keep that gap, then Lando will never be able to catch me. I'm sorry for watching Lewis trying to get past his teammate. And if you don't ask, going back to the Ferrari situation with Lewis and Charles Leclerc, as Lewis is now tucking under the gearbox of Charles Leclerc.
Want to be on at this stage, but they want to try and keep Leclerc with him. Hamilton didn't seem too enthused by that call.
Well, this is it about Ferrari, isn't it? This is no one is bigger than Ferrari, even if you're Lewis Hamilton. But I'm sure that Lewis will be having things to say about that. They do.
They let Hamilton through and escape up the road. Will he play ball and keep Charles Leclerc within that DRS range?
No, I don't think he will. I think he's off. I think he's up the road.
He's already a second behind. Nip and tuck.
I think he was the right call. I think Lewis's call was right. They've got a faster car on the track who can get another car further up.
We all know that, don't we?
Those are the voices of the BBC's F1 correspondent Andrew Benson, the 1996 Formula 1 World Champion David Hill, alongside myself, Harry Benjamin. We've got 17 cars left in this one, and we've lost 3. Jenny Gow's got more.
I think we've lost 4 now. Liam Lawson has just retired his racing balls.
Understood. We swap the cars.
have a tea break while you're at it. Come on.
Lewis Hamilton not mincing his words. He is not happy at the delay that Ferrari have taken, the time they have taken to sort out what they're going to do on the track. And Lewis Hamilton, you have to say to him, well, now he's clear. He's already dropped Leclerc. 1.5 9, so he's closing.
Of course, if they had an espresso, they may have been a bit quicker in making that call. But of course, there is also caffeine in tea.
Well, here we go. Here's the other side of the story.
To go faster. I've just got it here now.
That's Charles Leclerc, who wants his teammate to, well, head down the road because
little tiny bits out of the lead of Oscar Piastri as we go to lap 42 of 57.
Sorry, Damon, I was trying to catch the end of your sentence there, not the middle of it. But anyway, there's another gap closing just behind them as well, or not just behind him, because George Russell's 25 seconds nearly behind him in third place. But Max Verstappen has been inching closer to Russell.
The pole sitter has always finished second, and P2 has always finished third. So we're not quite there really. But this is the sound of the man who was on pole on lap 42, curving his way round turn 12 into the left-hander of 13. Max Verstappen currently sitting in fourth place and chasing down George Russell's Mercedes into the left-hand. I can't remember exactly what he said, but
he said, I'm stuck now. So he's
stuck.
within 1 point, and he's not got to within DRS zone, but he has closed the gap a little bit back to Lewis Hamilton. So the pair of them are now going around together, not really closing a gap. Well, they're getting a little bit closer to Kimi, but not at a great rate of knots. So Charles is making it.
141. My friends just texted me saying McLaren just look unbeatable.
They really do. I mean, we've come to this circuit, and while qualifying was oh so close, the margin's so fine. And with, well, the team threatening a series of upgrades coming over the next few races, McLaren are looking
and going at a pace that you're comfortable at, but at the same time keeping the gap to your teammate. And I think he's managing this brilliantly. It's going to be very difficult for Lando to close up, and even if he does close up, how does he get past it?
that battle still tense, still brewing with laps left in this race. We're on lap 45 and 57. You're listening to 5 Live's coverage of their hopes of European qualification aligned by coming from behind to beat Manchester United in a 4-3 thriller at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Brighton won, Newcastle won full time there. Alexander Isak earned a draw for Newcastle with a late penalty against Brighton at the Amex Stadium. West Ham and Tottenham full time there, 1-1. Big
in the famous, to echo the famous Murray Walker, watch the gap, it's now down to 5 seconds. Lando Norris has actually started to make a move on Oscar Piastri with
4.8
laps to go.
4.8 seconds now between Oscar Piastri and Lando. last of the runners retired and out of this race. Liam Lawson with crash damage in turn 1. Gabriel Bortoletto and Ollie Behrman, both with Ferrari power units in the back of their Sauber and Haas cars respectively, with suspected engine issues. They've stopped in this Grand Prix, and Jack Doohan involved in that incident with Lawson crashed out in turn 1. So losing at 4.
But as we speak, Lando Norris has got it down to 4.4 seconds gap on Oscar Piastri with 10 laps to go. 4.3 now, and I was talking about the state of mind of the driver in the front, watching a gap and maintaining it. He will now be panicking. He will. I won't be panicking. Is probably too strong a word, but he.
That they've got on there, so it will be a case of, well, how well is Oscar Piastri managing, or is he actually struggling with Lando Norris pushing now the gap down to 4.1 seconds? But Lando Norris, he continues to push and continues to close, will start to feel the effect of that dirty air. One person feeling the effect of his tyres overheating is Charles Leclerc.
On George Russell in third place.
While these battles continue to go, we think right to the checkered flag. That rain never turned up, did it? Well, could still. But David Hill, our weather reporter there, what's your app saying?
Well, it's saying it's gone. It's a lovely sunny day, it says. But, well, maybe overcast and maybe scattered showers.
Or are we going to get some wheel-to-wheel racing?
I think there's going to be some interesting conversations after this race, because Charles is definitely not too happy about what happened, and he's now closing up the gap back again on Lewis Hamilton. And how often do you see a car get caught, overtaken, and then start to catch the car that overtook it again and smaller. So Oscar is saying to Lando, look, I can go faster and you can try and catch me up if you like, but you're not going to get past me.
Lap 50 of 57, 4 seconds split the two McLarens in first and second, with Norris vying to try and close in and repeat what he did last year. And 16th, continuing their miserable season for the Silverstone team. Lawson's out, along with Bortoletto, Behrman and Doohan, and Damon a frantic point to the screen because we've gone under the 4-second mark, haven't we?
He's cracked it, and it's 3.7 now. He's nibbling again. He's making it incrementally. Every sector he goes through, he's
Are we coming back on Antonelli?
We are, but quite slowly. How much faster could you go in free air?
I have no idea. I have no overheating.
The Ferrari's not making the impact on Mercedes Antonelli that they would have liked. The gap 2.5 seconds that Antonelli has.
peloton.
Yes. Well,
So-
I tell you what, they seem both safe actually from Carlos Sainz behind, who's not really made inroads. Lando Norris continuing to close the gap now under 3.5 seconds. Does Charles Leclerc get by on Lewis Hamilton coming in to turn 17? The left-hander at the end of the long back straight? No. The sweeper left, then the flat-out sweeper right. Seems off
It's okay, it's okay. Now we are seeing Antonelli. Let's try to get him, and then otherwise we are going to lose more time than anything. Then we discuss after the race.
That was Charles Leclerc's radio, slightly delayed because the move has now been orchestrated. Lewis Hamilton eases off the throttle coming in
also the other point to make is the lap times are slower by nearly 0.3 of a second.
And Chinese 1.4 behind.
Going to let fast as well.
That's Lewis Hamilton, who sounds like he's having a great time in that Ferrari.
I don't think Ferrari completely realise yet what they've got with Lewis Hamilton.
Lawson carrying on but losing time and losing place and pace, and in the end deciding to call it quits in his all pink liveried racing bulls for this weekend. Lots of teams bringing slightly tweaked new liveries to celebrate being in Miami, and unfortunately that one won't see the checkered flag. His teammate Isaac Hadjar just on the periphery of the points.
He's not making any inroads. He's on his own really in fourth place, and you can see George Russell, but it's just this gap has not really got any better for Max Verstappen. And when you think he was leading the Grand Prix and got pole position, you realise that actually he is struggling with a car that perhaps is less competitive than those around him. That Mercedes have done a
running out of laps to try and pick off the Italian rookie who drives for Mercedes, who's made history this weekend by becoming the youngest ever pole sitter for a Formula One race, having started on the P1 position for the sprint race yesterday. However, it's not quite worked out for Antonelli in either race so far. Looking to pick up points, he wanted a podium they stay within 5 seconds of George Russell. Currently it's 2.6.
So they must think Russell might get a penalty, and that might be about that yellow flag infringement that they were talking about earlier. Remember? Yeah. We noted, but nothing else. So maybe Red Bull will appeal after the race. I don't know. The stewards don't seem to have taken any action on it, which would suggest that they don't.
to 1. As I'll tell you what, I think the sun is just starting to peek out from some of the clouds that from the start of this race were dark and grey. The rain threatened, but never quite came, and now glints of that Miami sunshine are sparking off the Papaya McLaren of Oscar Piastri, who has driven a Formula One season. Oscar Piastri, who won in Bahrain, then he won in Saudi Arabia, couldn't make the sprint win work from him, but so far, having never scored a point in a Miami Grand Prix, with just one more corner to go, the championship leader extends his advantage.
Control by the looks of things the whole way. It was a pretty much faultless performance by him, and as we
there's contact late in the day because Carlos Sainz wants to go at Lewis Hamilton coming out through turn 17. There is contact as the wheels interlock, and to the line, Hamilton holds on.